All right, good morning. I almost woke up this morning and I wasn't going to do my video. Hmm. But I know that there's those out there that have come to enjoy it. I don't know if that's the right word. Look forward to, expect my morning thoughts. So if only as not to disappoint. I've been thinking about that, and what I've been thinking about is that I get comments from individuals now and then, and the comments sometimes or oftentimes are very very supportive, and a lot of times people will say that my videos made them laugh, my videos uh, you know whatever bring joy to them, bring joy to their life. And as I think about that, and you think about yeah, I often question, are these videos stupid, or what the hell am I doing? But at the end of the day, if if doing a video such as this video brings joy or meaning or happiness into one person's life, just one person's life, isn't it worth it? Isn't it worth the effort? If even if just one person watches this video in the entire world, and my effort brings joy and happiness into that person's life, isn't it worth the effort? So, I think that the answer is yes. And if you're out there and shaking your head and saying, no, Tom, it's not worth it, it's stupid, then there's something wrong with you. But with my videos, I never conscientiously try to say something that'll be hurtful or mean spirited. That's just not in my nature to do that. But anyway, a lot of things on my mind today. I was walking down to the gym yesterday, and as I often do, I like to look up at the stars. And I found myself just thinking of the magnificence of the universe. I like that. I like that word, the magnificence of the universe. And I often wonder if there's a lot of people that just have a hard time grasping or putting their heads around the scope of how infinitely big is this is the space we find ourselves within. It's just I marvel at it myself, and I always think, I always put my life and my existence in perspective of the universe, and in doing so, I realize that I realize that uh, I am I am but a speck, and just a flash, not even a flash of time, you know. And it's interesting. People get all caught up in their day to day, their day to day life, day to day troubles, and day to day worries and everything. But in reality, just on the radar of on the radar of life. I don't know. I'm grasping for words, but anyway, it's just the magnificence of the universe is just something that fascinates me. There's times that I love the stars. You ever see those big fitness balls that they'll have in a gym? They'll have fitness balls of different sizes, and you'll see people lying on their back on a fitness ball and kind of rolling this way or rolling that way. Um, I like to, as silly as it sounds, I like to envision myself sometimes when I go out at night on a beautiful night and I lay down on the ground. I like to vision myself as the Earth being one of those big those big fitness balls you'd find in a gym, and just kind of laying on the Earth, laying on the ground, and just kind of visualizing this Earth, this fitness ball hurtling through space. But it's I love the stars. I've always loved the stars, but it's a interesting thought for sure. But anyway, what else is on my mind? My dad. I drove my dad up yesterday to halfway up to Tampa to drop him off with my brother, who kept him for overnight. And it would have been nice, had my dad stayed up there for a little bit of a longer visit to give me a little bit of a break, and have my brother's family get to enjoy my dad for a few days. He's just up there for a day, and I got to tell you, it's interesting to come back to a house and to be in an empty house. I know somewhere right now there's somebody watching this video that's probably sitting in a house all by themselves, or sitting in an apartment all by themselves. And you can be connected to the world via Skype, and you got your phone, and you have contact with other people. But when you find yourself alone in a house, nobody there, such as I did waking up this morning, it puts a whole different sense, to the quiet, if you will. It's just just knowing that knowing that somebody else is in the house is a good thing, provided that you like that person that's in the house. If you're in the house with somebody that you don't like, then that you probably prefer the eerie quiet, if you will. But anyway, no, Dad went up to spend the night up in Tampa, and I took advantage and had a friend over for dinner, and good conversation, really really good conversation, and the conversation evolved into how one's childhood, how one's life's experiences shape and mold that person as they continue on with their journey through life. And we spent a lot of time talking about my adolescence, and conversation was somewhat revealing, somewhat interesting, in that a lot of people would look at me and think that I'm a man of a lot of self-confidence, and I am. I think a healthy amount of self-confidence about myself. If only because I've achieved what I've achieved, and over the years. But there's always that. I think everybody has a certain amount of insecurity within themselves. Some people more so than others. And in the conversation last night, a lot of it was talking about my particular childhood and my adolescence. And what I was telling this guest that was that as a child, I had essentially no self-esteem. I had no self-confidence. I had no self-esteem. It was it was an adolescence from hell, if you will. I was always teased. I was always I don't know if the word bullied. I don't know if you could say that I was bullied, but I was always teased. I was a chubby little kid, and my siblings would come up and they'd grab my rolls of fat, and tease me for being fat, or they'd tease me for the way I spoke. They would tease me because I couldn't pronounce words a certain way. They would always make it a, it almost make it a joke that I was always picked last. When they were choosing sides to play baseball or something like that down in the field, I was always made to feel a fool by being chose last. But the thing that really went a long way was the challenges that I had with my mother. My mother was the disciplinarian within the family, and more so than my dad. But my mother, I pushed my mother over the edge. By the time I entered my adolescence, my mother had already endured five siblings before me going through adolescence. And if there were ever a medal of motherhood, if there were such a thing, like in the Rose Garden, Barack Obama or President-elect Trump, you know, holding a ceremony in the Rose Garden for a medal of motherhood. My mother would deserve that. She how the hell she raised 10 children is beyond me. Every time I go into a supermarket or into a shopping mall or something like that, and I see a mother struggling with 2 or 3 children, I think back to the fact that my mother raised 10 of us, and at one time she had 5 children under the age of 5. She had a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a newborn. Absolutely mind-boggling. And I think that having that many kids would challenge even the best of us. But somehow or another, my mother persevered, and she made it through, and kept the house in order and kept us fed, and did all she could. She did all she could, bless her heart. But then I came along. I came along in my adolescence, and I was a hellraiser. I gotta tell you, I was a hellraiser. I hated authority, and I still hate being told what to do to this day. But I pushed my mom over the edge, and my mom and I used to go back and forth, and she said things to me that that shaped me into who I am today. She used to say things like, "I wish I never had you. I wish you'd go away and never come back. I hate you." And I brought all that upon myself. I was an adolescent. I was an unruly child, and but my mother used to say all that stuff to me, and it did. At the end of the day, it made me feel so insecure, and I had so much. I had so little self confidence. As I went through the remaining years of my adolescence, I had this friend. His name was Eric, and Eric was a heartthrob in high school. Blonde hair, brown eyes. He was a swimmer. All the girls just loved Eric, and he hung around with the in crowd. And Eric and I had been childhood buddies growing up in the same neighborhood. And the two of us were inseparable. And then we got into high school, and Eric started running with that particular crowd. And I found myself, every time I was in a social situation, and this carried over into my adult life, every time I would find myself in a social situation, I always found myself thinking that I wasn't wanted, that I didn't belong there. And the only reason that I was there was because I was Eric's friend. And it was interesting. And then, the other challenge that I had in adolescence that carried over into adulthood was that for years, I had a hard time looking at myself in a mirror. It was always a challenge. I hated looking at myself in a mirror, all through high school and well into my adult life. I just hated, I couldn't bring myself to looking into a mirror. The going and getting school clothes every year. At the beginning of the year, you go down to J.C. Penney's or what have you, and you try on these school clothes, and you got to stand there in front of the mirror and see if they look good. That was a big challenge for me. And it carried over into my adult life, and it's something that I struggled with well into my 20s, and now I don't struggle with that too much anymore. If only because I've accomplished what I have over life, and and I find it interesting that I don't have a relationship to speak of with my mother. I was going to say that I have a bad relationship, but I don't have a relationship. I don't know that it's bad or good. I just don't have a relationship with my mother, and it's not. It's not. I was going to say it's not bad. I should say that I have a sad relationship with my mother. I think it's a sad relationship because we just don't communicate. And I find a lot of times in talking with people, where people will leave comments on my videos, that they hate one parent or another, and hate is such a terrible emotion to have in one's heart. I don't hate my mother, not even in the slightest. I love my mother, and I don't hold anything against my mother insofar as the tumultuous childhood that I had with her. Looking back, hindsight is 2020, and looking back over the course of my lifetime, I know that I instigated all of that, and I know that my mother was just at her wit's end. She was just at her wit's end with me, and anything that she said or did was just out of mere frustration, and as an adult, I've realized that. But there's a lot of people that transition from childhood over to adulthood that never learn to let go, so to speak. Let go of the anger, let go of the emotions. But anyway, that was a interesting aspect of the conversation last night. But I need to get on with my day, and my dad got to go pick up my dad today, and bring him back. I just like I have in the years past. I find myself, struggling with putting him on a plane and sending him home. And I only say that because I know how much he enjoys being here. He enjoys the freedom that his golf car gives him. He enjoys the social aspect of the community and being part of that social dynamic. He enjoys his library. He enjoys the food. He enjoys the house here, and my thought of sending him home in January, it was just as I gave it more and more thought, I found myself realizing that my thoughts were again being very much self-centered, and I realized that I wanted to go to Maui for an entire month, and I found myself thinking that I would just be sitting out there by myself on a beach watching a sunset, thinking of enjoying every minute of it, mind you, but knowing that my dad would be sitting back in Alexa, What's the weather in Cleveland?
Currently, in Cleveland, Ohio, it's 27 degrees with
27
clear
degrees
skies.
weather.
Today, you can expect lots of clouds, with a high of 39 degrees and a low of 27 degrees.
So I'd be sitting there watching a sunset, and my dad would be sitting up there in a house, uh, just in 30-degree weather, you know. But anyway, so I don't. I toss and turn with the whole idea with my dad, and I also realize that, and I say this every year, you know, say this every year. At 3 years now, that it could be the last time I see Dad, and my dad is like the Energizer bunny that just keeps going and going and going. But anyway, it's all good. It's all good in the end. So have a wonderful day today, and take good care. Okay. Okay. Bye bye.